Jen and I met in medical school. We were anatomy lab partners, and kind of where we started our relationship, and it pretty much never stopped. We've always been in the medicine world, and chaos is not that uncommon around us. You're on call, you have to work tonight, I have to cover something, cover a game, this or that, you're going somewhere, managing the kids and being kind of sporadic and kind of having your hair on fire a lot was not that super uncommon. The boys were 9 at the time, and they were just entering kid pitch baseball. That was the first game, was Sunday. And so not thinking anything different about the day than Jen going to work as she has normally for 15 years at that point. Corey, who was her colleague at work, called me one time as he had gotten there and said, "Hey, Jen's not feeling so great. She's gonna hang out here a little bit." And I was like, okay, like maybe she had the flu, wasn't feeling well. And I was like, all right, just let me know if I need to do anything. Right as we were leaving, driving out of the driveway, he called me back and he said, she's acting a bit neuro-like. And I was like, okay. He goes, I'm gonna scan her. I was like, well, you need to do whatever you need to do. If your spider sense is going off that something's not right, manage her as you have to. And so that's kind of unique, bizarre. And we were driving over to the baseball diamond, and that becomes a blur. But then he called back and said, we're transferring her to Methodist, and it looks like she's had a stroke. And that obviously put things into a huge different spin. John Pierre Mobasser, who's a neurosurgeon, he is a good friend of mine. Eric Potts, another very good friend of mine. I had texted them and said, Jen has had some form of a hemorrhagic event. She's had a CT scan at Riley. If you guys could take a look at it, I'd appreciate it. And Mobasser called me in the most professional voice. Like, it was a serious voice. And I knew that was pretty significant. Her blood pressure was off the chart, and it was like 240 over 160 kind of range, like, whoa. And part of the first several days was about maintaining her pressure and, intervertebral pressure or ventricular pressure that would put pressure inside of her brain. That time was probably the scariest for sure. I knew they were gonna have to put the drain in, and I couldn't stay there for that. I had to step out for sure. There was a pretty good 3 or 4 week period of time where I thought that I would be a father of 4 and a wife that had a bunch of needs to just live a normal life. All those things that she kind of started performing, like neurologic related findings, they all immediately went away. It was an enormous bit of relief that, as kind of scary as that was getting, she kind of turned the corner once that drain was in really quick.
I was there for 18 days in the hospital at Methodist, and then got discharged and went to Rehabilitation Hospital of Indiana for the weekend. I think a lot of people end up having like physical limitations, so like paralysis or weakness of one side of their body or the other. I didn't have any physical limitations, but I think the other thing that is a little bit harder to sort of wrap your head around is like emotional stability, intellectual, knowledge, that kind of thing. Like where I was before, where am I now? What do I remember? What information have I retained? What's all new to me now? What do I have to relearn?
I think the amazing part about this whole story for Jen is she's as normal can be. It's hard to even describe the fact she had such a significant vascular event, and she's as normal as she is.
Hypertension, heart disease, all of those things can affect anybody at any time. And even when I was in my 40s, not really realizing that I had a family history of high blood pressure. I really thought I was invincible. Like, if you'd asked me, I would have never thought that this would have happened to me. I was getting regular mammograms. I was going to be getting my colonoscopies at the appropriate time, but like getting screened for heart disease, high blood pressure, all those things never crossed my mind. So now that I'm on the other side of that and working with the American Heart Association, I can't stress enough how important it is for everyone to get their regular checkups, get your blood pressure checked, know your family history, because it can happen to anybody.
We're crazy fortunate. Everything went pretty positively. And that's because of all the quick intervention and all the positive things from around, her and her colleagues and the people she works with that intervened so early.